Hello and welcome to the second annual CTE Leadership Collaborative Convening. My name is Peter Taylor. I have the privilege of serving as president of the ECMC Foundation. When we started planning this event at the beginning of 2020, this isn't exactly how we imagined all of us being together, but we nonetheless appreciate you taking time out of the next 2 days to address some of the most pressing issues facing post-secondary career and technical education. For those of you who don't already know, the CTE Leadership Collaborative is a special initiative within our career readiness focus area, with fellows who are researchers and practitioners and journalists and data professionals. We believe quite strongly in the power of this group to help advance and improve a field that will be absolutely critical to a post-pandemic economic recovery and to the future of work over the longer term. I want to take a moment to give special thanks to our grantee partners, North Carolina State University, the Association for Career Technical Education, the Institute for Citizens and Scholars, and the Strategic Data Project. These grantees have done a great job selecting all of you to become fellows and providing you with the supports needed to help you become even better professionals, thinkers, and doers in post-secondary CTE. I'm also thrilled to welcome our newest CTE Leadership Collaborative grantee partner, Jobs for the Future. JFF will be collaborating and supporting fellows who come from business and industry with the goal of building their knowledge and leadership capacity to act as change agents within their companies and strengthen their company's policies and practices to hire and promote CTE graduates. Thank you to our partners from JFF for joining us today, and we look forward to welcoming your fellows at next year's convening, which I sincerely hope will actually be in person as opposed to being virtual. So over the next 2 days, you'll hear from exciting speakers and engage in discussions with each other. We believe there's great value in bringing together leaders from across professions to discuss opportunities for post-secondary CTE. But we all know when you put a lot of smart people in the room together, even a virtual room, not everyone will agree on everything, and that's okay. This understanding of different perspectives and viewpoints exist across various professions joining us today. I encourage you to listen and engage with professionals who have different roles from you and to think through ways you can start to build bridges, not only to better understand the issues affecting post-secondary CTE, but to collaborate to overcome those challenges. So once again, thank you and welcome to the CTE Leadership Collaborative Convening. I'll now pass this over to my colleague, Patrick Burke, who will share a little bit more about the history and context about the Leadership Collaborative.
Thank you, Peter. Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick Burke. I'm a program officer on ECMC Foundation's Career Readiness team. I help oversee the CTE Leadership Collaborative as well, so you've likely received a good number of emails from me over the last several months. Those of you who I have not met before, I look forward to interacting and having some conversations with you during this convening. We also have a good number of alumni or fellows who have been in the program previously, and it's great to see you all again and welcome back. But because the CTE Leadership Collaborative is new for so many of you, with some of you just starting your fellowships this week, I want to share this video that provides a bit of background on the Leadership Collaborative in each of the fellowship programs, including our newest one with Jobs for the Future. Without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to the team to play that video.
Across the country, there are millions of jobs in the career technical education space that are going unfilled. They require some education beyond high school, but not the full-blown 4-year degree.
The jobs are exciting. People can do a lot of different things, and you don't have to have the debt of a 4-year college to get a good paying job.
Now, while CTE programs in high-demand fields exist, more can be done to ensure that these programs are open to more people, particularly women and people of color, to meet the workforce needs of today and tomorrow.
But also reskilling and retraining of workers is always so crucial, and even more so now in this time of COVID-19 and the economic impacts in our country.
ECMC Foundation founded the Career Technical Education Leadership Collaborative to improve the system from inside out, developing leaders across sectors who can advance post-secondary CTE, improve CTE programs across the United States, and advocate for CTE to have a higher standing in the national discourse.
There are a number of ideas we can get from each other. There are a number of ways that we can influence each other's work, thus building a CTE ecosystem in a way that I think has not really been tried before.
Through the CTE Leadership Collaborative, ECMC Foundation currently supports 5 diverse fellowship programs, which collectively support over 100 ECMC Foundation fellows. ECMC Foundation acts as the connective tissue for these programs.
The Post-Secondary Leadership Success Program at ACTE is dedicated to bringing emerging and current post-secondary practitioners who are responsible for their career and technical education initiatives at their institutions into a new level of consciousness in the fulfillment of their duties.
One of the things that we recognized was while there was not a lot of research being done in career and technical education in general, at the post-secondary level, there was even less. The role that NC State plays in the Leadership Collaborative is to develop researchers for post-secondary career and technical education.
I'm the director of the Strategic Data Project for Post-Secondary CTE, which is part of the Center for Education Policy Research at Harvard, or CBER. So our fellows are engaging in the year-long program to answer a strategic data question of interest for their institution.
For CTE and all education to be relevant, we need to be meeting the needs of business and industry.
Our fellowship program, which we are calling Talent of Tomorrow, from Jobs for the Future, but is essentially a fellowship program that takes business and industry professionals, particularly HR professionals, through a year-long fellowship to understand the value of CTE and also how to inform and influence their hiring and retention practices as a result of their learning.
You really need, buy-in from the general public. You need oversight of programs. And I think those skills are what journalists kind of bring to the field. The Higher Education Media Fellowship is a fellowship for working U.S. journalists who are interested in learning more about and reporting on issues related to post-secondary career and technical education. ECMC Foundation gives each program and each fellowship the ability to build out their program in a way that makes sense for their fellows.
The backbone of the fellowship is a series of 4 workshops.
In addition to those opportunities, each fellow receives a mentor.
Let's do some professional development. Let's do some personal development.
So the fellows are asked to learn and then do. So they go back to their companies and implement some sort of action plan.
During the first year of our program, one of the exciting things was that all of the individuals presented nationally at conferences.
And we're feeling the sense that there's an impact being made far beyond just the formal design of this program.
At the 2020 Leadership Collaborative Convening, there's going to be over 100 fellows talking to each other, sharing information, debating perspectives about post-secondary career technical education. But really, our ambition is much greater than that. We hope by 2025, we will have actually over 500 ECMC Foundation fellows with whom we engage.
So the programs that the ECMC Foundation has built into this collaborative has really provided an incredible palette to paint a very promising picture for post-secondary CTE.
I'm really hoping through this community of people interested in career technical education that we can create, a small bit of a movement to really elevate the perspective and the appreciation for career technical education going forward.
What a great video. I am delighted to join you this morning and afternoon. My name is Lynn Alvarez, and I am the Vice President of Programs and Strategy at the ECMC Foundation. We hope that the video helps you to understand the collective power of the people in this virtual room and the enthusiasm we have for the work you all do, both as individuals and as a collaborative. Shortly, we are going to jump right into some of these important conversations, but first, we have a special presentation from Leland Melvin. Leland Melvin is an engineer, educator, former NASA astronaut, and NFL wide receiver. He served on board the Space Shuttle Atlantis as a mission specialist on 2 missions in 2008 and 2009, helping to construct the International Space Station. He also played for the Detroit Lions and is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. In a life filled with unique accomplishments, there is one distinctive feature of Leland's career that will be hard to duplicate. He is the only person drafted into the National Football League to have flown in space. But his accomplishments don't end there. After hanging up his space boots, he led NASA education and co-chaired the White House's Federal Coordination in STEM Education Task Force, developing the nation's 5-year STEM education plan. In 2017, Leland released his memoir, Chasing Space, an astronaut's story of grit, grace, and second chances. In Chasing Space, Leland shares his personal journey from the gridiron to the stars and examines the intersecting roles of community, perseverance, and grace that align to create the opportunities for success. His journey is one of collaboration, focus on equity, and inspiring new generations to pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. And although most of you will never play in the NFL nor float in space, you also inspire generations to come. And so now, please welcome Leland Melvin to help kick off the convening.
Thank you, Lynn, for that wonderful introduction. And I'm so excited to be here at the CTE Leadership Collaborative Convening. I always have thought as a child and even as an adult that people want to know, what is that right stuff? Do I have the right skills to be a basketball player? Do I have the right skills to be a scientist or an engineer? And it's always been, for me, the right stuff is the never give up stuff, because we've been through so many things as a people, from slavery to Jim Crow to all these different things. And we've had to keep persevering. We've had to keep believing in ourselves when other people didn't believe in us to give us the opportunity. So it's always been never give up, keep going and keep driving. And, I think about my journey, it was around May of '61 when President John F. Kennedy was petitioning Congress for money to send humans to the moon and back in the next decade. At the same time, we were trying to get our civil rights straight in our country when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was consoling the Freedom Riders in the Deep South. In that same month, May of '61, these two technologically advanced things happening with the moon, doing the moon landing, and then we can't even get our civil rights straight. And I wasn't born yet. My parents were both middle school teachers in Lynchburg, Virginia. September of '61, they were thinking about starting a family. They're in Virginia Beach, Virginia on vacation. So I call this my preemie picture. And my roots in education came from their diehard perseverance to ensure that all of their learners had an opportunity to rise. They spent money out of their pocketbook. They did, all these different things to ensure that people had opportunities. And in the mid '60s, around the time I was born, this show came out called Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry's vision of a 5-year mission to go boldly where no one else has gone before. And I think of Nichelle Nichols, who was the first woman of color in television that wasn't in a subservient role. She was the chief communications officer on the Starship Enterprise. And an astronaut named Ronald McNair and his brother watched her on television in the '60s. And he said, if there are women like that in space, I want to be an astronaut. But that representation that mattered, that got Ron McNair to go to an HBCU, got a physics degree, got his PhD at MIT, and then became an astronaut and flew in space. So when you think about, I think the biggest thing that we can do to get more people into the STEM fields and career, technical education is to have the learners see the people that look like them that are doing incredible things. And so she was monumental in catapulting so many people's careers in aerospace because they wanted to be like her. I was 5 years old when Neil and Buzz walked on the moon. One small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. And I was the kid holding the antennas around a black and white television set. I didn't want to be an astronaut. I didn't see someone who looked like me. And I wanted to be a tennis player like Arthur Ashe. And so I love science. I love reading. My mom read to me this book, The Little Engine That Could. And that belief was in me at a very early age that I could do anything just like the little engine that could. We may need to make sure that all the learners right now, no matter what age they are, believe in themselves. Because sometimes we have this imposter syndrome. Sometimes we don't believe it, even though we have the technical merit and the skills to do the job. People try to tell us that we don't have those skills. And so shoring people up, getting cohorts of people that have your back. I remember the book, The Little Curious George, and Curious George always had the man in the yellow hat who had his back no matter what happened. So we need that man or woman in the yellow hat to make sure the learners believe that they can do these things. And there's the Curious George book right there. I mean, I was that little guy running around, getting in trouble, doing things, but I always had one person who had my back. And experiential learning was something that I gained at a very early age. My dad drove a bread truck into our driveway, and he said, this is not a bread truck. This is our camper. I said, I can read Marita Bread and Rolls on the side of this truck. He said, and over that summer, we rewired it. I was doing electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, when we built the bunk beds that flip down. So it's important that we all get these experiential, hands-on activities that will help us shape and mold our way of doing STEM education. My mom gave me a chemistry set soon after that, and I created the most incredible explosion in her living room. She said, here you go, son, have fun, follow the instructions. I blew a hole in her carpet, but look at my brain. My eyes are big because my brain is activated. We have to give experiences that activate the brain. And all I needed was a lab coat and goggles to become a scientist. And when I went to college, I became a chemistry major because I had that experience. So we need to make sure we get these passionate experiences. I graduated, got drafted to the Detroit Lions, was in the NFL for a minute. And, I started graduate school while I was in the NFL and in material science engineering. And then when I pulled my hamstring and the second team that I played with, the Dallas Cowboys, I went back to grad school, finished my master's, and then went to work for NASA Langley Research Center as a research scientist. I never imagined working for NASA, but someone told me, you should check them out. And I did, and it worked out. So having a network of mentors, having a network of people that have your back, that believe in you. And that's what we have to make sure that, during the course of going to college, going to graduate school, all these things, there were always people that were pushing me, said, believe in yourself. You can do this. I think I can. And that's paramount to keeping a learner on the track for success. And so worked in aerospace at NASA, was developing optical fiber sensors for these aerospace vehicles. And a friend of mine said, Leland, you'd be a great astronaut. And I just laughed at him. My mindset was fixed on, that's not for me. That's not a thing that I can do. And a friend of mine applied, he got in, and I said, wait a minute, if that knucklehead can get in, I can get in. So I applied the next selection and I got in. And then I don't know if you can find me in the picture right there, but look at there. Maybe you can find me there. There was a lot of diversity in my astronaut class. If you can't find me in the picture, let me help you with the arrow. One African-American, we had geologists, scientists, engineers, Army, Navy, Marines, different people that made up a diverse cohort. But when you look at that picture, it's not too diverse from a people of color standpoint. And so sometimes I felt, it's only me. Sometimes I felt like, how am I going to get through this? But again, I had other people that were shoring me up when other people were tearing me down. And I had a serious accident in this 5 million gallon pool where I lost all my hearing. In this pool, you're in this EVA suit, extravehicular activity suit, where you have a little pad that you put in your nose to clear. They forgot to put mine in, and I went down in the pool and I lost all my hearing. The surgeons were trying to figure out what happened. They couldn't figure out what happened to me. So I was medically disqualified to fly in space. They said, we will never let you fly in space. But I stayed the course. I kept believing in myself, even though I had no hearing in this ear and only the speaking frequencies in this ear. Someone finally believed in me and signed a waiver for me to fly in space. And so Daniel Golden, he was the administrator at the time. He came to see me in the hospital. He wrote these notes to me. He said, we didn't give up on the Hubble Space Telescope when it was damaged. We fixed it, and I will never give up on you. The first picture taken by the Hubble was the Eagle's Nest Nebula, and it's 7,000 light years from Earth. And so they gave me this, and he said, you can do this. So again, having that person that believed in me, I got a mission in 2008, February 2008. I flew to the space station. We were building this incredible outpost, and my job was to take this $2 billion laboratory out of the payload bay of the space shuttle and attach it to the space station. And I thought that would be my aha moment, but that paled in comparison to what happened next. Dr. Peggy Whitson, the first female commander, invited us over to the Russian segment to have this meal. She said, you guys bring the rehydrated vegetables, we'll have the meat. And so we floated over with a bag of vegetables. We were African-American, Asian-American, French, German, Russian, the first female commander, living and working together, traveling at 17,500 miles per hour around the planet while listening to Sade's Smooth Operator. That was the moment when I realized that I had this new perspective on humanity, on our planet. And when I came home, I wanted to make sure that everyone could get that same perspective that I did, especially our young brothers and sisters and people of color that sometimes don't get those opportunities, that sometimes don't see people like me in space. And so when we backed away from the space station, that was our handiwork, that Columbus laboratory. I got another mission about a year later, flew to the International Space Station with this crew. This was the first time that two African-American men were in space at the same time, Dr. Bobby Satcher and I. And when I think about this, we had a moment to talk to Tom Joyner on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. And we reached out, here's 1 million people listening to this show. And I think about all the kids that heard this transmission of two Black men in space floating and talking and working. And there are kids today that come up to me to say, my mom made me listen to that transmission, and I'm an aerospace engineer now. And so that legacy of making sure that people hear and see the things that people are doing of color in these different environments is so important. And that's a picture I took from space. I'm in Lynchburg, Virginia right now. That's my hometown along the eastern seaboard. And you see the Atlantic Ocean, a sunrise, and the lights going up Highway 95. Went into education after I retired from NASA. And the thing that I realized at a Reimagining Education conference was how to prepare students for jobs we can't yet imagine. There are jobs out there that people don't even know what they're going to be about. How to ensure everyone can meet the level of rigor, and how to build learning experiences that spark passion, making sure that learners are passionate about what they do, helping them soul search to figure out what are the things that really bring you joy, not just a paycheck, but bring you joy. And if you're doing those things, it's not a job. And so trying different things, doing internships, learning about other people's journeys. That's something that I'm working with right now with a company called base11.com. We're creating a STEM career playbook that I go out and interview CEOs of companies of color, of different people that are in STEM fields, and find out their journey, because sometimes we don't know how to become a STEM professional. And many times we know how to become an NFL football player. I knew the path for that. So we're trying to build this career playbook, just like you have the playbook for the X's and O's in football, to do incredible things in STEM. And equality doesn't mean justice. If you look on the left side, the little boy has the same, in the blue shirt, that has the same thing that everyone else has, but he can't see the game. Justice is when you get what you need to see the game and to be viable. And it's not the same thing that everyone else has. And so finding out what that is as you're going through school, finding out the extra things that you need, or maybe you don't need the extra things, but make sure you get what you need, is truly important. And cohorting, being part of a team, part of a family on a mission to graduate with honors, to graduate with success. One of the things that I am really proud about is this quote by Dr. Benjamin Mays, who was the president at Morehouse College. He said, "It must be born in the mind that the tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goal to reach. It isn't a calamity to die with dreams unfulfilled, but it is a calamity not to dream. It is not a disaster to be unable to capture your ideal, but it is a disaster to have no ideal to capture. It is not a disgrace to not reach the stars, but it is a disgrace to not have no stars to reach for. Not failure, but low aim is sin. And so that is such a powerful quote about having this inspiration, this passion inside of you to reach for this, maybe what you think is an unattainable goal, but you got to go for it. You got to do it. And that's what we need to instill in our learners to make sure that they have goals, they have believe in something, they have a perspective that's different and bigger and bolder. Two books that I really resonate with at the bottom of this page are Grit and Mindset. Carol Dweck wrote Mindset. You know, I had kind of a fixed mindset of being an astronaut. That mindset changed to a growth mindset so that I could take in things and know that anything is possible for me. Fixed mindset people put limitations on their career, their success, and what they can do. Another one is grit, you know, having that perseverance, that resilience to do something that you don't think you can do. And another woman who exemplified that is a friend of mine, Katherine Johnson, that showed in the movie Hidden Figures. She's boss, she's bad, she's bold, she can do anything. She calculated the trajectories to help John Glenn get to space and astronauts get to the moon, and me on the space shuttle get up to space safely and back. So her pencil was sharp, she was brilliant, and she was a woman of color doing incredible, incredible things. And so when I think about her, I think about her mission, I think about her journey. I think that we have to share these people, these experiences to know that it's possible, that these things are possible. And as Dr. Spock said, you know, on Star Trek, he said, live long and prosper. And I think about this picture I took with Nichelle Nichols, Victor Glover, who is currently in space on the International Space Station, the first African-American male to be a long duration crew member. He's gonna be up there for 6 months. And then Bobby Satcher, who I flew in space with. And it's an incredible moment to be alive and to do these incredible things. You gotta be shored up, you gotta be built up, you gotta put the work in, read the books, do the things. And I'm really excited and proud to be part of this and sharing this message. And I just want to say thank you for this moment and for having me. And I want to wish you a great convening. If you want to get in touch with me, here's my social, Astroflow at Twitter, and on Instagram and Facebook, it's just Leland Melvin. So Godspeed on your journey and have a great conference.
Well, thank you, Leland. You have such an inspirational story, and I hope that you fellows take that inspiration with you as you go through the day. At this point, I'd like to help you transition into your first breakout sessions of the day. These sessions will be with your respective fellowships, and these sessions will be an opportunity for you to engage with peers in your programs. In this session, you will not only get to hear updates from your fellowship leads, but they'll also help you think through how to make the best out of the remaining sessions today and tomorrow, and to make them particularly useful. So in these sessions, I challenge you to think through what a fellow in your profession or role has to learn from the fellows in other programs, but also what you can uniquely contribute to those discussions. Some of you may be new to CTE, and others may have been in CTE for decades. Others of you may have completed your fellowship programs several months ago or a year ago. Others may have just started this week. You all have unique and valuable perspectives that will help us better understand post-secondary career and technical education and think through ways it could be even better for students. We want you to think through the equity and representation issues that Leland raised just moments ago, especially in CTE. So in terms of logistics, if you haven't already, you should take a look at the list of assigned breakout sessions for each of the groups. In this document, you can find in the resources section of the website. You can then click on the session tab to find your specific room. You will follow that same method to find your rooms for the roundtable discussions. As a final note, all of the speakers on the main stage, with the exception of Leland Melvin, are on the record. I will share that the conversations, however, in breakout rooms are meant to be places where fellows can feel comfortable to share. With that in mind, we know that those conversations will be interesting and really thought-provoking, but we hope that they're off the record. That said, if there is something that somebody says that you find particularly compelling in those breakout rooms, you're certainly welcome to follow up and ask if they can be back on the record. At this point, fellows, you're welcome to head off into those cohort networking sessions. And for our ECMC Foundation staff and board members, thank you for joining us this morning, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning.